Mikhail with Gannage Design Construction. We've been talking about some common issues that people have in their homes that while you're home we can try to solve on your own and see if I can talk you through some of them. Today we're going to talk about some of the issues we run into at doors. This is in particular someone's entry door. This entry door is struggling to get latched. Okay, they're having a hard time closing the deadbolt either from the outside or the inside. And we're going to quickly solve that and probably show you some solutions. So let's just figure out what's going on. Two ways in which you can know to get an idea why it's not closing. The first one I'm going to explain quite simply. If you find yourself having to press on that door to get it to latch, but it's not, you may find that the reason why is that when the deadbolt is lining up, I'm trying to damage the door here, you're not actually lining up with the latch in this distance right here, okay? So I'm going to use a little screwdriver here, try to just measure and gauge, okay? So see how it's sticking out right there? So with my finger, I'm just going to mark on here that distance. This is a real rough dimension, but I'm just going to check that dimension to see if it lines up correctly with how it lines up with the door, all right? So let's go ahead and go to the jamb. That's going to be this part of the door jamb, all right? And this is where what's called the strike for the deadbolt, and it should be able to have the deadbolt, move in there. What I'm going to do, step on the other side here. I'm going to take that same mark with the flathead, and you see, I need to be able to see that I can go into the door. All right. Now, right now, I don't see an issue because if that's where the strike's going to be, it should have no problem lining up this way. Okay. And we're going to have no problem doing that. Doesn't seem to be the problem here. Okay. So let's go and check out the other direction and see if that's the issue. Okay. So let's try the other one. Sure enough, when I lift up on it, I'm able to get it to latch. All right. That tells me that the door, either the house has moved, which is possible, or the door has sagged. Sometimes if it's an old wood door, the door itself is sagged. In this case, it's not, and more than likely, it's either sagged from here or it's moved in down at this hinge. So we're going to determine how best to resolve this simply. All right. We're going to refer to this as more of a door hack than whether or not we're going to go through and rehang the door. So a door guy would go, well, I'm going to need to do a whole lot of work to this door. Well, you're not the door guy, so let's see how we can get this latch to work. Okay? So I'm going to talk about reveal. All right? Reveal means this gap between the door jamb and the door itself. All right? And so the reveal is the distance between the two, top to bottom, side to side, top to bottom. Let's look at the door as a rectangle sitting inside of another rectangle, and if the two rectangles don't line up correctly, that creates a problem. All right, so what I'm going to notice here, and you may or may not be able to see it, but you can see the gap at the top of this door, the hinge, okay? Now, if you look real closely, you can notice that it's little to no gap at the bottom here. That's not necessarily a problem, but in this case, it's a clue. It's a clue that these two rectangles aren't perfectly centered in one another. The door is turned counterclockwise to the jamb. It's a real clue that my small little solution that I think you can handle is going to solve the problem. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that effectively we're going to take and disconnect the hinge from the jamb here and move this door so that it turns and lines up more correctly, which will in the end, lift where the deadbolt strikes. It will lift it up and get it to line up correctly without you having to lift on your door yourself. Okay? Okay, so next step is for us to remove just the jamb side of the hinge. All right, we've got 4 screws here that we're going to remove. You can either do it with a drill gun or you can use a Phillips head screwdriver. Either one is possible. You'll find that with a screwdriver it's a little bit more challenging, but if that's what you have, it's really not that difficult. All right, set those aside. In my case, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Okay. You'll find that sometimes after many years you may find that this is painted into place, and that's a difficult problem for you. If you have trouble with that, you may need to use a razor blade to cut around that edge to free it. In this case, sometimes just a little tap and the hinge will pop loose. okay? If you're not able to do that with your hand, you know, maybe a mallet or something that's not going to damage your door, right? But once you break that loose, that's going to expose the jamb. All we're going to do now is add a simple little shim, something that you probably all of you have in maybe your recycle, and I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. In this case, we've got an old pizza box from the recycle bin. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to cut out a section of this. Intentionally, without any tape measure, so that you can see how simply I can do this. All right, I'm going to line it up here with the size of my jamb. All right, I can mark however you want to mark it with a pencil or with your fingernail. You can mark that. It doesn't have to be perfect, what your width is. All right, and I'm going to cut that. Okay, same thing, I'm going to mark the dimension. Cut off the corners for those radiuses. All right. Now that may or may not be enough. You'll find that with this hard dense board, if you need to, you can do that multiple times. I would say once you get past about 3 or 4 times, it may be more than this particular trick will work, but certainly up to that point, enough to get it out. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. You may find that you'll have to manipulate the door a little bit to get it into place. Put it back. But you want to reseat the door, the hinge into its pocket before putting the screws back in, or you will not have your jamb lined up properly. Notice it's important that it sits in that seat. Okay? And you go ahead and reinstall the screws. Okay, it does latch now, although it was still a little stiff. So for the sake, okay, well, let's do a second one, all right? Much better, okay? Not perfect, but the intent was not to make it perfect, but to be sure I can easily secure the home. So the other possible direction, instead of actually shimming out behind this one, is that you've noticed that this is sagging or pulling away, all right? You'll note that because if you're moving the door, you open your door, and maybe you take and lift gently here, and you'll lift, and you'll feel that the hinge is actually moving, all right? It's beginning to disengage, and that often happens because those short little 3/4 inch screws begin to strip out and the door is sagging. So what we're going to do is a simple solution. Again, this one though will require more than a screwdriver. You will need a screw gun to do it. But you're going to take one of the screws in the back here, either this one or this one. I mean the back of the hinge rather than here. The reason why the back of the hinge is because what we're going to try to be doing is targeting the framing behind the door jamb, all right? And we're going to basically take this shorter screw out, this little 3/4 inch screw, and we're going to replace it with a screw long enough to go through the jamb and into the stud and secure this heavier door to the jamb, and in some cases pull the jamb tighter to the framing. Okay? What I'm showing you here today is a commonly acquired fastener that you can pick up at the Home Depot and any of the big box stores. Okay, snug that up, and then we'll check it. You should be able to observe that it's pulled the door over. You're going to check the reveal again. Once again, you can see that we tightened up our reveal, all right? And no problem latching the door. Okay,